you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Christine Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers. We're living in a very interesting place where tech is driving a lot of the conversation. And as a result of that, we have this massive trust deficit going on. People don't know if you are who you say you are and are not always sure what's real and what's not. And because I think that's such an important topic and I want us to win in the trust war, I have brought on an incredible guest today, somebody who's got a great expertise talking about building trust, especially if you are a contractor or you are worried that you're competing on price. And my friends, you do not have to compete there, so don't. Please give a very warm welcome to our guest today, Mr. Daniel Sroli. I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
I appreciate you having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this whole issue first off of how do we build trust to start with? Because I think we talk about it like we should have this life skill. And if you watch everywhere in the business community, they're like, I don't know how to do this.
So it's a great question. And I remember I asked that question once to a mentor of mine when I was 18, 19. And I said, and he was an older man, and I asked him, how do you build trust? Like, I noticed that trust, when built fast, is the only way you can really drive fast revenue, because people won't pay you unless they trust you. So I looked at him and I was like, how do you build trust? Like, how do you decide to trust someone? And he looked at me, he's like, really, it's a time thing. So how long they trust you for? Like, if you know someone since high school, you're going to trust them more than you met someone yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I took that and I was like, interesting. And then I started asking other people the same question. And I did notice it has similar things, meaning you make a promise and then you did what you actually said you were going to do. Those are usually going to be things that when you stay consistent to help build trust. But another thing I noticed is, yes, it's a time play, meaning if you know someone for 20 years, you're going to trust them more than you met them yesterday. However, how can I take those 20 years and compress them into days? How can I have them watch a YouTube video? How can I have them look through a podcast? How can I get them to know me on a more consistent basis? So the familiarity breeds in and I can compress that time frame instead of having to do it over the extended time frame.
This is interesting because frequency plays here. That's what I'm hearing you say. And we've said it. There's statistics that have come out that, it's 7 to 12 touch points on research before we even have engagement. And you have to think about, can you curate frequency? So for you, is it just frequency, or does the quality of the frequency play a big role? And if so, how do we be even more effective?
It's a great question. I believe it's a little bit of both, meaning I've heard it even go up as high as 28 times, again, depending on the industry, depending on the contract size, bigger companies. I do think the value here is where people are using media online. Instead of watching a 30-second short versus watching a 3-hour long form video, people feel like they've already spent something with you, whether it be time, energy, or money. Some people try to sell something small up front, like a consultation or whatever it may be, to get them to commit, to show that they're serious, to get more qualified people through the door. Other people will have them watch a video prior to getting on or filling out a long form questionnaire. All these things are getting people to spend time with you. Now, when I look at it, I go, how can I engineer both sides of the process? How can I have multiple touch points and then also lead them to higher quality touch points? For example, sending out a 10 campaign email sequence, and then each one of them can lead to a 3-minute video, 5-minute video, 7-minute video, 30-minute video, and explaining what you do, how you do it, who you are, what you're about, giving little nuggets throughout the way, makes them feel like they've known you for a lot longer, and they both help.
This is smart strategy. I think so often, and I think I've seen a big shift in, I would call lead magnet strategy, where we used to say, give them everything in the kitchen sink. And it's not that that's not a good idea, because it does show your capability and hopefully your confidence in what you're talking about, but it's too much too soon, too fast. And so we've started to say that small nugget, and what I heard you say was 30, 60, and different variety of lengths is important, because they're leaning in when they're ready to lean in.
Correct. Also, meeting people where they're at is important. I know that some people are video content watchers, some people are blog readers or article readers, so you have to write to them. Some people are more audio oriented. So being able to mix them up or have different variety for them to consume is always going to be beneficial. But I have to agree with you, especially people in the $250,000, $500,000 range, they'll throw everything and see what sticks, instead of strategically testing one at a time to say, hey, this really works for the ideal client, this doesn't. And also that's where they do tend to compete for pricing and things like that. It's like, I'm just going to give them everything. I'll even sell my soul and an arm and everything in between to get them to want to commit to me. And I'll literally do whatever it takes. If I have to pay them to do the project, like, fine, it looks good on the resume or it looks good on the portfolio, which again, it doesn't have to be done that way. And you'll see that when you look around, you see not everyone does it that way.
That's right. Choose your lane, my friends. Decide if you want to do it the hard way or the easy way, and don't make the easy stuff hard. I want to ask you, how do you know you actually are starting to build trust with your ideal clients? Because I get it, there's a way to consume, but how do I know it's effective?
So the best way for me to track it is going to be on the amount of follow-up calls that have to get done. Meaning there are some people that have to have a 8 to 10 follow-up sequence. You go out, you give an estimate in the construction world. If you're a creative type of copywriter and you got to pitch and repitch and repitch and repitch, it means that they don't trust you. Meaning when people tell you, yeah, I'm going to think about it, or the price is too high, it's one of two things. It's going to be a trust thing or it's going to be a value thing. They don't understand what it is that you're selling them because you haven't done enough education leading up to it. Or two, they just don't trust you, your company, the person that they're talking to, meaning the salesperson that you may have at the front line. And that is usually going to pin back to marketing. And the way I like to not only see how to tweak it is to understand how, not are they motivated to work with me, are they not, but how far along are they in the buying cycle? Like, how well can I educate them and pre-motivate them, get them to be predetermined, pre-exposed, and pre-ready to go? Like, they should be already warmed up. Think about it as if you're looking to pretty much get married to the client, how can I get those 20 dates done ahead of them ever meeting me, quote, for the first time? Like, they already have all their questions answered. They already have all their concerns walked away. So now they have 1 or 2 or 3 things that are causing them on the fence. And then you just are able to easily knock them over. So when the sales process gets easier, that's where you start seeing that the trust and credibility works. And you see it from the bigger brands. Meaning they're not really sitting there like grabbing people like, hey, you got to buy our stuff. People come in, they already know they want to work with them. They already trust them. They already like them. They're already credible. So it's a smoother sales cycle. It's more like, hey, do you see enough to get started today? Like, did you like what you see? Are you good to go? And usually they'll be like, yeah, I'm ready, because they already had their questions answered.
I think the soft check-in, that soft sell, is a really important stage that we often just think is not as detailed and necessary as it could be. And so I want people to just really hear what Daniel just said there. We're asking and inviting and qualifying with every bit of time, every bit of frequency, every bit of format, so that by the time that the people you physically see in front of you say, tell me exactly what happens next, you already can say, are you ready for an offer? And I think that that's a really important language. Would you like me to make an offer? And I do this very clear. You've heard this on this podcast before. I ask clients when they say, tell me what it's like to work with you. I said, are we talking abstract, or would you like me to make you an offer? If you'd like me to make an offer, I'm expecting a decision. Are you going to make a decision? If not, the offer's premature. Let me go back and educate until you have all the answers you need to make a decision. And then we'll talk about the offer.
I like that. That's very elegant and very well put. I learned something new as well today.
Thank you. So I want to talk about the gaps because, when we have so much content out there, it's easy for that content to get messy or to get haphazard. You've said to me when we were chatting before that there's gaps that can deteriorate your credibility, and it's important that we don't make these mistakes or that we clean house. How do you do this with your own business?
Personally, what we like to do is we like to organize content as a whole. So it is a great question. And I know people are thinking in the back of their mind, like, content is king. How can I pump as much things out there as possible? Now, I know a lot of people think it's an information age where there's all the information out there. It is, but people don't necessarily need more information. They need wisdom. They need someone who's executed, taken the action on their behalf, and able to really guide them down the right path. So this is where I think course creators got big into it, where they would take all the information out there, execute on it, and then create a step-by-step action plan, which will save anyone decades. A moment's insights will save you decades of experience, learn from other people's mistakes. We see this every day. And that, to me, is how I like to look at things. I say, how can I make it as simple as possible for the end user? And how can I make their life easier? Meaning, how can I give them back time, effort, energy, when they spend time with me before they ever work with me? How can I provide value? Value is a very abstract concept. Some people love to say it, but they don't really know what it is. It's really giving them something that they would want, they would pay for, meaning like you pay for help around the house, you pay for people to do certain things that you may not want to do. In essence, that's saving you heartache, that's saving you time, that's saving you money. So you're buying those things back in exchange for dollars. Service comes first, dollars come second. So my goal is to provide the service always ahead of time of things that they would be willing to pay for in order of importance. And usually every problem has a solution and every solution has an additional problem. And my goal is to have them go down a strategic process. First, you're probably struggling with this. Here's the solution to that. Once you solve that, the immediate next step, usually like on a form submission, the next thing will pop up. You may want to think about this. And you see it all the time, let's say when you're checking out at Amazon, like people like you also buy this. It works also when you're generating leads. It's the same process, just in a different manner, where you can first solve one micro problem, you solve the entire problem, and then you reintroduce the next problem and you help them solve it semi, fully, whatever it is, in order to lead up to the main thing that you're offering.
There were two golden nuggets I want to bring into highlight here. The first one is your content should be about what they need to hear and not what you want to say. You will find engagement and movement for qualified leads more when you adopt that. And number two, this was interesting. You talk about solve a micro win. And this is sometimes our hardest fight in the emerging entrepreneur space because we want to sell a unicorn. We want to sell the ultimate outcome. But truthfully, in a trust recession, I need a first win before I'm going to make a big win with you. And so never mistake how small a micro win can be. And when they win, and you can say, well, it's not surprising that there's another problem to solve. Make sure you set those expectations because it does allow people not to feel I failed even though I won. And I tell people this all the time. I said, building a business, there's 3 steps. You have to solve the lead problem, which is marketing. But just because you have great marketing and leads doesn't mean you have business. You have to then solve selling. And then if you solve selling, you're like, well, now I have to deliver. I'm so busy in delivery, I stopped doing leads and marketing. And I'm like, this 3-piece puzzle is constantly a cycle. And we must constantly be solving for it. And when you do that predictably, guess what? You create stability. I want to know for you, and when you have clients come hire you, how do you see and deliver and say to them, I think we have a trust break happening based on where you are and what you're creating right now? Because chances are they're hiring you to improve this. But how do you address elephant in the room? We have got a problem.
So first off, phenomenal question. And I know anyone that's listening will definitely resonate with that. And I loved when you said trust recession. That's a writer downer for myself. I'm definitely going to use that.
You can.
I have to say, to answer your question, I don't usually bring it up. They usually tell me. I had a meeting yesterday where they may not tell me black and white. So there is going to be certain people that tell it to you straight up, like, hey, I'm just not sure what's going on in this side of the business. And there's certain people that by the words they use, they're going to say it without saying it. And then what I usually will do to break the ice, if I have to go ahead and deliver the bad news, I'll say, is it okay if I can be real with you for a second instead of being nice? And they'll say, sure, like speak your mind. And I'll say, have you noticed that, like, based off what you said you're competing on price. You said that everyone is nickel and diming and they're just looking for the cheapest option, which you see all day in the construction field. You'll see a lot of times in other fields as well. So it's not particular to one specific.
Not only one industry.
Yeah, but it's something that people will see. And then what happens is they go into default thinking. You act as the herd, meaning everyone does discounts. I'm going to do discounts. Other people are going to drop the price. I'm going to drop the price. And that goes on to the race of, being the lowest possible option.
Busy and not profitable.
Correct. And again, even if you're playing that race, meaning, okay, let's say you're a copywriter and someone comes over to you and says, hey, we need to get this article done for $2,500 and we're looking at a few different options. And you say, great, that's something I'd love to do. It's the type of company I'd see myself working with. They say, okay, great. They interview 2-3 people. They go, okay, we got company B down the road that's willing to do it for $2,000. A lot of people will be like, you know what? It's a slow season. I'll do it for 15. And they go back and forth until they hit 3, 4, whatever, $100, $100. And then it gets to a point where you might as well just pay them to do the work because that's effectively what you're doing. You're going to be spending more time on the project. One of the fastest ways to go out of business is if you spend more money on your client than your client spends on you. you don't have a business, then you have a jobby, which is not the best thing to have.
Danger. I think my favorite question I've been asking my clients since we started this new year is it worth it at that price? And this is the internal trade, right? So if you're racing to the bottom, at some point you have to walk away from a job saying it's not worth it at that price. I am using my valuable time resources when I could be serving another client for a higher price point. And that means you have to do the work to bring in the higher client. It doesn't otherwise create the vacuum space. But there was also something really brilliant, and you said it, and I want to highlight it to the audience here. And it was when I had to tackle this question, I had to ask them, could I be real? And can I share something with you? Guys, what he is doing is setting himself up for, I get hired for my opinion. If you want to compete and you want to build trust, make sure the trust isn't about something generic. It's not something about the industry. It's about me delivering in this industry with my opinion, with my expertise, with my viewpoint, because that is the surest way not to compete on price. Does someone else have the same philosophies or has the same knowledge? Yes, but they don't do it the way you do it. And so, Daniel, you're very smart to position yourself. Can I tell you what I think? If they don't say no, you know that we haven't built the trust, or truthfully, it's not somebody who will be a good fit for you.
I want to add two things just because I love giving my opinion, as you can tell. Two things.
Smart.
One, that'll usually fall into, that's usually more in the sales question. I'm going to go even a step further for people that, especially during any time of the year, they're looking to really ramp up on sales and you want to be more gentle with your wording. You can throw something out there like, how can I tell you that you may be making a mistake without offending you? Something along those lines. People will be very open to that. And that's one micro piece that I like to use. The second thing I'm going to share that I love, that I've been using for years now, and every time I teach it to clients, their eyes open up. They always want to know, what can I do to make myself more unique? Because I always say, you don't want to compare apples to apples. You don't want to be just another apple out there. You need to find a way to make yourself unique. We go through our checklist of different ways that we can do it, risk reversal, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things I'll pull up, and for anyone that's watching, I'll be a little bit more visual with my hands, but anyone who's listening can hear and picture. Imagine a target practice, and you have 3 rings, like when you're shooting a bow and an arrow at a 3-ring type of target. And the outer ring is the makeup, which most people tend to focus all of their effort on, which is, how do I look different online? How does my brand colors and my fonts add up? And especially people in their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of business, they get really caught up on that. How do I look online? Is my lighting good? Is my makeup good? Is my fonts and everything like that good? They're not as focused on the other things that matter more, which are the inner rings. So the outer ring is makeup. The second ring I usually look at is the magnetism. What makes people more magnetic to you? Who are you? What are you about? Why are you different? Why should I trust you? What makes you unique, different, better than the other options out there? And that is going to be something that you really should think about, because every human being is unique. So whether you're a huge company or a company just starting out, play to your vantage point. Just because you're the smallest guy doesn't make it a bad thing. You try harder. That's Avis's rental car company line.
It was. They made a great campaign. And
Correct.
Pepsi did too. It's like, we love being number 2.
So if you're going to have that position, you got to run and own that position.
Yes.
And people, there's some companies, I have friends that own multi-million-dollar campaigns that will prefer an attorney that doesn't have an entire firm backing them in certain projects, because they know that person's going to be 110% all in on that one thing. And they have full focus and attention of the quote CEO of that smaller firm to work on that smaller project that pops up. Versus, yes, there are times, situation driving strategy, that you need to go for that bigger firm with analysts, not the CEO that's going to be looking at your actual project, but kind of second, third tier type of talent. But you do have a team of other people that are going to recheck and check, etc. So owning your positioning, understanding who you are and what you do in the marketplace, understanding it and then articulating it is going to be by itself something that separates you. And then the inner tier is the most important tier. Something that you mentioned on as well, Christine, is just do it, like doing the work. The more you do, the better you get. And that inner tier is mastery. What are they going to get when they work with you? And the only way they're going to get mastery, quote, value, that inner tier, the core thing, the benefit, what's in it for me when I work with you, is if you do the work as a business owner. You are the one that's going out there every day, executing, getting feedback for yourself, for clients. You're now able to transition that value to them which will be the ultimate differentiating factor. And you'll find unique, different, better ways to do the deliverable, add more value on that side of things. And those are the three rings that we tend to like to look at.
I think that's a great analogy. And this is so true in its simplicity. It's very old school values, which, I'm a super big fan of here on the show. It's how we grow our business. We're very high touch, high result, high impact. And it comes down to this. People trust us because they see us walking our talk. And I don't talk a good game and do something different. You have this great congruency. And guys, go back to that very simple thing. Are you the best model for how you want to work with clients, serve clients, and engage in that follow through over an extended period of time and frequency, which is what we've been talking about? Daniel, I want to ask you this, because I ask everybody who comes onto the show, what's working right now for you to amplify your impact, for you to find highly qualified companies, businesses, solopreneurs, and contractors who hire you? What's working right now in the marketplace?
So we have a lot of things working. I like to say there's not one way to get a client. There's 10,000 ways to get one client, and then you double down on the one that works best. For us, what we found works best is sheer volume across all channels, whether it be social media, emailing, calling, follow-up especially. But a lot of times, once you get a little bit later on, like we're in, we tend to just want to make sure that we're working with the best possible client, because our projects aren't 1 week, 2 weeks. Our normal timeline is going to be anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. And we understand that well, that we need to make sure that when we're taking on a client, we vet them well, that we want to work with them and engage in the relationship. And to be even more real, it's really not even 12 weeks. It usually is 5 to 10 years minimum. So we're really going to be opening up a very long-term relationship. And I think a lot of people don't think about this. So when a client is vetting you to see, hey, are you the right copywriter? Are you the right marketing team to work with? Our team does the exact same thing backwards, meaning, do you guys have credibility? Do you guys have what it takes to stick with the contracts long term? Do you guys plan on being in business in 6 years or 6 months? Do you guys plan on closing the doors? Do you guys have budgets or investment funds available to go into in-depth systems and processes that actually will drive business growth? And the long run, the compounding effect is, to me, what we look at more than anything. So what I would answer in a very short, simple manner is having the client who you serve being vetted at a very high standpoint going to be the differentiating factor. That is going to be the one thing that I can say, the one anchor, if I had to pull from a leverage standpoint at this exact moment. We have everything else working really well. The value is there. People know that they're getting more than what they pay for, which is usually when value exceeds price. It's not really a question. It's just a matter of allocating funds and moving things around, resources. So that part we have down.
I love this, because what I hear is this simple truth. Whatever the first contract is the first of many wins. It's the lifetime value, the long-term relationships, and the compound effect. And if you are looking at your business in that way, trust follows very inherently. So Daniel, how do people find you, and how do they learn more about ProfitX.com?
So the best way to find us is to actually see that we are who we say we are. So going to ProfitX.com, checking out the site, checking out all the resources that are there. We give it to people so that they can succeed before ever working with us. And the same thing applies. They should have their questions answered. They should have their needs filled as far as we can get them along, because that benefits us. If I give people free resources, which we do, and you consume them and you take action on them, it's part of our qualification process. If you're the type of person that I give a hammer to and you use the hammer when I'm not around, it tells me you're going to do relatively well as we meet later on in life. And you're the type of person that's going to do what is required to succeed. And whoever doesn't drops off. So ProfitX.com, social media accounts, you can reach out, have a conversation. We don't pressure anyone into anything. If anything, vice versa, we'll usually propel before we even bring someone in, because we do want to make sure that you're a high quality person that wants to grow the business, that's serious. So I would tell you, before even reaching out, consume stuff that's anything that you can see on our behalf, and see if we are who we say we are, and if the information that you find is something that's relevant to you. And then from there, you can always take it a step further and see if you want to take the next step.
I love it. So guys, go make sure you connect to Daniel. You can follow him on all his social channels and ProfitX.com. Go explore the resources and start determining, are you in the right room? Are you the right client? And then take the steps that then breadcrumb trailed behind you, and engage with him directly and say, hey, we heard you from Amplify Your Marketing Message. Daniel, thanks for being our guest today, guys. Trust is a game that you choose to play. Put down effort, do the work, because truly you're one in a million and your clients are looking for you. So go get found. Thanks for being our guest today. We appreciate you guys. Everyone else, we will see you in our next episode. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit ChristineCampbellRapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master